All right, so you want to dive into this whole love language thing.
Yeah.
You shared Gary Chapman's The Five Love Languages, and I gotta say,
Great book.
it seems like you're ready to unlock some serious relationship wisdom.
Absolutely. Love is one of those things that everybody thinks they understand, but
Right.
it's so easy to get tripped up.
Yeah, it's like we all know what love is, but then
Yeah.
when it comes to actually like making it work, it's a whole different ballgame.
Totally. And, Chapman provides a really interesting framework with this idea of love languages
Mm-hmm.
because we all experience and express love in different ways. And if you don't understand that,
Yeah.
it's really easy to miss the mark.
For sure, for sure. So, like, just to kind of set the stage here, what exactly are these love languages?
Okay, so the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And they're all different ways of kind of giving and receiving love.
Okay, so the idea is that each person has one, like, primary love language
yes.
that really speaks to them.
And if you try to, if you try to express love to someone in a language that they don't understand,
Right, it's like
it falls flat.
it's like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not gonna get what you're putting down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when you get misunderstandings, conflicts,
Sure.
resentment, all that stuff.
Exactly, yeah. So let's break down these languages one by one. Let's start with words of affirmation.
Okay, so words of affirmation. This is all about feeling appreciated through verbal compliments, words of encouragement. It's about feeling seen and valued for who you are.
Okay, so it's like those words have extra weight for somebody with this love language.
Exactly.
It's not just like, oh, that's nice of you to say. It's like,
It's validation.
yes,
Validation.
a feeling understood.
Totally, totally. And, I'm thinking about this story from the book about this woman, Allison. She's a writer, super talented,
Okay.
but somewhere along the line, she just lost her spark, And her husband, he stumbles across some of her old writing, and he's just blown away. And so he starts showering her with compliments, telling her how talented she is, how much he loves her writing.
That's beautiful.
And it was like those words, they just reignited her passion.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's like he gave her permission to believe in herself again.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's such a great example of how powerful words can be.
They can be incredibly powerful. And on the flip side, for someone with this love language, hearing criticism or negative comments, that can be especially hurtful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because it's like those words cut deeper,
Exactly. They really sting.
So what are some ways that people can kind of figure out if words of affirmation is someone's love language?
Well, pay attention to how they respond when you give them a compliment. Do their eyes light up?
Yeah.
Do they seem genuinely touched by it?
Yeah.
Or do they brush it off or downplay it?
Right, right.
You can also listen to how they express love to others. Do they frequently give compliments?
Yeah, yeah.
Are they always encouraging people? If so, that might be a clue.
That's a really good point.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered words of affirmation.
Yeah.
What's next?
Let's talk about quality time.
Okay, let's do it.
So this one is all about giving someone your undivided attention. And I really want to emphasize undivided.
It's not just being in the same room while you're scrolling on your phone.
No, exactly. It's about being present, engaged, truly focused on the other person. It's about creating those moments of true connection.
It's about making them feel like they're the only person in the room.
Exactly.
That you're fully there with them. And, sometimes that can be as simple as putting down your phone and having a conversation. Or, I'm thinking about this time I was having a really, really rough day. And my best friend just came over. We baked cookies together. We didn't even really talk that much, but just her presence was so comforting,
It's that shared experience, that feeling of just being there together.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not about how much time you spend together. It's about the quality of that time.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
That's huge here. So if someone's love language is quality time and they constantly feel like they're competing for your attention,
oh, that's got to be so hard.
It gotta be really tough, yeah.
Because it makes you feel unimportant.
Exactly. Unseen. Like you're not a priority.
Yeah, and no amount of gifts or acts of service can really make up for that lack of quality time.
Absolutely. Like a fundamental need, to feel seen and heard and valued in that way.
Okay, so we've talked about the power of words.
The importance of quality time. What other ways can we make sure that our love is landing in the way that it's intended?
Well, let's talk about receiving gifts. Now, before you jump to conclusions,
Right.
This is not about being materialistic or spoiling somebody. It's really about the thought behind the gesture. It's about knowing that someone was thinking about you. They cared enough to put in that effort.
It's a tangible expression of love.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for some people, that's huge, right? It doesn't have to be a big, expensive thing. It can be something as simple as, picking up their favorite candy bar on the way home.
Exactly. Or like, a little handwritten note.
Yeah. Yes.
Something that just says, hey, I was thinking about you.
Exactly. And it makes me think about this couple from the book, Jim and Janice.
Right.
Jim, he's a creature of habit. He's not really a gifts person.
Okay. But then he learns about love languages, and he realizes that this is huge for Janice.
Yeah.
This is how she feels loved.
Yeah.
So he decides to step out of his comfort zone, and he brings her these little gifts every day for a week.
Wow. Okay. How did that go?
And it completely transformed their relationship.
Really?
Because she finally felt seen and cherished. It was like he was finally speaking her language.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these small gestures, these little shifts in awareness can make such a huge difference.
Totally, yeah. And sometimes the most meaningful gifts, they're not even material, right? It can be something like a letter,
right,
a poem, something from the heart.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's all about that effort, that thoughtfulness.
Exactly. Okay, are you ready to move on to our next love language?
Yeah, let's do it. What's next?
Acts of service.
This is a big one for some people.
Okay.
So for them, it's like actions speak louder than words.
Right. It's not enough to just say it.
No, you got to show it.
Show it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's things like doing the dishes.
Right.
Taking out the trash,
Yeah.
Just little things to make your partner's life a bit easier.
Those little acts of service.
Exactly.
That say, hey, I care about you.
Exactly.
I see you, I see what you need, and I'm here to help.
Yeah. It's like lightening their load a little bit.
Yeah.
Taking some of that pressure off.
Yeah. And it's funny how something that might seem small or insignificant can be like a huge gesture of love.
Huge. And it reminds me of this couple, Mark and Mary, from the book.
Okay.
Mark was a hard worker. He really believed in providing for his family.
Okay.
But Mary, she was feeling overwhelmed with everything else.
Okay.
And she just needed him to help out around the house a little bit more.
So even though he was like showing love in his way.
He was trying.
It wasn't quite translating.
It wasn't quite the right language.
For her?
Exactly. For her, seeing him, do the dishes or fold the laundry.
Right.
That would have spoken volumes.
It's so interesting how, even with the best of intentions,
I know,
we can totally miss the mark.
Oh, totally.
If we don't understand what that other person needs.
Absolutely. It's like you're trying to give them a gift that they don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've talked about words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service. What's the last one?
The last one is physical touch.
Okay.
And now this one often gets a little misinterpreted.
Right.
Especially in romantic relationships.
Right, because it's not just about sex.
No. It's much broader than that.
It's about all the other ways that we use touch to communicate.
Exactly. So it's things like, holding hands.
Yeah.
Hugging, kiss on the cheek.
Yeah, just that physical closeness.
Yes, and those little touches, they can be so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like little deposits into their emotional bank account.
Exactly. I love that.
Right.
It's about creating those deposits, those moments of connection.
Yeah.
And for someone whose primary love language is physical touch, they need that.
Yeah.
They need that physical closeness to feel loved and secure.
And if they're not getting it?
Oh, it can be really tough.
Yeah, it can be really hard on the relationship.
Absolutely.
Because then you start to feel neglected.
Yes.
Unwanted.
Exactly.
Even if it's not intended that way.
Right. And that's why communication is so important.
Yes.
You have to talk to your partner about these things.
Absolutely.
Find out what their love language is.
Yeah, and be open to hearing that what they need might be different than what you need.
And that's okay.
Yes.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly. And I imagine these conversations can be a little awkward, a little vulnerable at first.
Oh, for sure.
But ultimately, that's where the good stuff is, right?
Absolutely. That's where the intimacy is.
Yeah.
That's where the real connection happens.
Totally. Okay, so we've gone through all 5 love languages. We've talked about why they're important, how they show up in relationships.
Right.
What are some things that listeners can do, practically, to start putting this knowledge to use in their own lives?
Well, first of all, I would say just start paying attention. Observe yourself. How do you like to receive love? What makes you feel appreciated?
Yeah.
And then observe your loved ones. How do they express love?
Yes.
What are their complaints?
No, that's a good one. Yeah.
What are they always asking for?
It's like playing detective a little bit.
Exactly. You're looking for clues to figure out what their love language might be.
Totally, totally. And once you have a better sense of that, then it's like, okay, how can I start incorporating this more consciously, more intentionally?
Yes, and don't be afraid to experiment.
Right. Try some different things.
Exactly, because you might be surprised by what works.
Totally. And it doesn't have to be anything big or fancy.
No, not at all.
It's really those small, consistent gestures
Yes.
that can make all the difference.
Absolutely.
It's like, learning a new language
Right.
takes time and practice.
Exactly.
But the rewards are huge.
They're huge
Yeah.
because you're able to connect with people on a deeper level.
Totally.
And build stronger, more fulfilling relationships.
So true. So true. Now, here's something I've been thinking about.
Okay.
As you've been talking about all of this. Have you ever noticed how, unmet needs, especially those love language needs,
Yes.
can sometimes manifest as other conflicts in a relationship?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not really about the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
It's about something deeper.
Exactly.
It's like that age-old battle about the laundry.
Right.
It's not really about the laundry.
No, it's about feeling appreciated.
Yes.
Feeling supported.
Exactly. Like all of that underlying stuff that we're not always bringing to the surface.
And when you can start to see those patterns and recognize those unmet needs, it can make a world of difference.
Totally. It's like you're not just speaking different languages.
Right.
You're from different planets.
Yes.
But with this awareness, you can start to actually build bridges instead of walls.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what it's all about, right? It's about understanding and connection and really meeting each other's needs.
100%. So for our listener out there who's been on this journey with us, exploring these 5 love languages, what's the one thing you hope they take away from all of this?
I think the most important thing is just to remember that this is a journey.
Okay.
It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about making the effort.
Okay.
It's about being willing to learn and grow.
Yes.
And to communicate your needs.
Yes.
And be open to hearing your partner's needs as well.
Totally. Yeah. It's that ongoing dialogue.
Exactly.
That open communication.
Because at the end of the day, that's how we build those strong, lasting relationships.
100%. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you about this.
You too.
I feel like I learned so much.
Me too.
And listener, we hope you did too. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, some new tools for your relationship toolbox. And remember, this was a deep dive tailored specifically for you using the source material you provided. We believe that knowledge is empowering, and we're here to help you unlock the insights you need to cultivate more fulfilling and meaningful connections in your life. So until next time, go forth and speak the language of love.
And remember, we're always here if you need a translator.